Welcome to the Truly Expat Travel Podcast, where I chat with expats about their favourite holiday destinations. Let's be honest, expats are some of the best travellers around, always planning the next adventure, exploring hidden gems, and finding the best spots wherever they go. So who better to ask for travel inspiration? So welcome back to the Truly Expat Travel Podcast, and I'm your host, Paula. Today, I am flying solo. I don't have any guests here, but I am here to tell you about my recent trip to Malta and why I've chosen it as my destination and what I fell in love with. So let's just get started. My trip to Malta I spoke on episode 1 of my road trip to Sicily, and it was kind of in a combination of that. I wasn't originally going to, but what happened was I've got a friend that lives in Malta and they said, you know what, you can catch a ferry over, which I actually didn't know that you could, and then discovered that it was really easy. I drove from Taormina. Had to stop off to look at some property on the way, but then I stayed overnight in Pozzolo, and there is nothing in the town. Like, there really isn't. It's a very tiny little town with very limited restaurants and anything there. So I did stay overnight. It is opposite a beach, obviously, because of ferry pier, and there was nobody on the beach. There was not a soul on the beach. It was a little bit creepy, but I stayed at a little Airbnb, and they were lovely. They were really lovely. So you can do one or two things. You can catch a plane over, obviously, but you can also catch a ferry. You can drive your car and go over, or you can do what I did and park your car. There's a car park there, but the owners of the hotel were so lovely that they said that I could stay there that I could keep the car there. So I just left the car there because it was only like a 10-minute walk to the ferry pier. I could see the ferry pier from my window, and that made life a little bit easier. So because on the way back, when I got off the ferry, it was only 10 minutes. It was a bit it was dusk at that stage because I caught the late ferry, but it was easy, very, very easy. Now you can book online, or I think you could probably get a ticket there, but I just booked online. You do need to you're supposed to print out your ticket, but they do it there for you. Bring your passport. That's pretty much it. And once you get to the other side, I think it's an hour and 45 minutes. You can buy something to eat on the ferry. It's quite pleasant. You don't have a designated seat, so you can sit wherever you want. And it's busy, very, very, very busy. There's bus loads. So if you're not driving, I did meet someone who caught a bus. So they actually were catching a bus to Taormina on the way back. So I'm sure you catch a bus. I would say that's why there was so many people all of a sudden, because I was waiting in line and all of a sudden there was 1,000 people. So get there early. That's one thing I would say. So I went to Valletta. I was lucky enough to get picked up by some friends, but on the way back, I stayed in Valletta itself, which I loved. I would probably not stay there the whole time. If I go back again, I'd like to go and stay in a few different areas. But that was beautiful, really, really beautiful. But I did walk to the ferry pier, and it's just long and it's hilly. I wouldn't do it if you had lots of baggage. I was just lucky enough to have a small bag, but even that was a bit of a pain. I would catch a taxi or a bus or something. I always don't know why I thought it was a good idea to walk. I think it took me half an hour, something like that. Anyway, why did I choose that place? Do you know what? To be fair, I think for me, Malta's such a hot spot at the moment. It was so busy. It was so busy. When I say I don't know what other months were like, but May was so busy. I've been told it is very pretty to go other days as well, like other months as well. I think I would go I wouldn't go in summer. It's just too busy. May was probably manageable, but it was still super, super busy. It was warm. It was warm enough to be able to go for a swim and stuff. So I would highly recommend bringing swimmers and things, because you can catch, like I didn't, but you can go on cruises and stuff, and you can go over there's a couple of islands there. It's just beautiful. Honestly, it's really, really pretty. So how easy is it to get there, and what did your itinerary look like? So my first day I spent with friends. So let's go with the second day. Second day I called the on-off bus. Now, two things I would suggest. If you're staying there a week, I would do that on-off bus over 2 days, because I didn't get through the whole loop. Like, there's 2 loops, but I didn't get through the second loop because there was so many places I wanted to stop off at, and I didn't even stop off at that many places. So I highly recommend doing that over 2 days, and it is harder, or it's further than I thought. It's actually, Malta's bigger than I thought it was. I don't know why. I thought it was like really small like Singapore, but it was a little bigger than I thought it was. And there's so much to do. So what I also did was on that on-off bus, I went to MDINA. I'm botching it up, I know, and I'm not saying it properly, but this little town, I'm so glad I did, is so beautiful. It is known for where they film Game of Thrones, I believe. I don't know because I've never watched the show, believe it or not. But I would highly recommend going there, and even if you can stay there the night, a friend of mine stayed a night and said it was beautiful. It's just, the architecture is beautiful. There are a lot of horse and carriages, and there's a lot of churches and lots of weddings. I saw like 4 weddings while I was there, and I was only there for about an hour and a half. It is so pretty. There's beautiful restaurants. So I would definitely go and do that. I also stopped off at the Blue Grotto. I was going to there's a boat there that you can go to and have a look at the caves, but I then changed my mind. I think because I knew I didn't have that much time, and I really only had that day to get off to do the on-off bus, so I changed my mind. I then got off at St. Peter's, I think it is, or St. Paul's, and it's a beach area, which is really pretty, like really pretty. I went and had lunch and sat at a restaurant and ate my lunch. But if I had my swimmers, I would have gone for a swim. It was so pretty. There is a lot of architecture that you can see. There's a lot of, there's just so much to do. So that would be what I would do, the on-off bus on the day 1, and maybe stop off at just 1 or 2 spots. And day 2, I went over to the 3 cities. That's so pretty. I went and got one of those, the old traditional boats, and then went over to there, had some lunch there. There was a market there. I went for a walk around. There's some yachts. It was really, really pretty. And then I caught the boat back, and then I did like I walked around Valletta, and in Valletta itself, there's lots of shops. And at 4:00, I believe, I think it's 4:00. There, the gardens there, they have like a, what are they called? The forts, the cannons. Sorry, I couldn't remember the name of them. They have like a cannon exhibition show thing every day, I believe it is. That's quite cool to see. Around there, they've got a couple of museums. Just wandering around the streets, it's so beautiful, and the food is amazing. The people are super friendly, and can I just say that crystal jade water is something that actually threw me. I didn't realize how pretty it was. There are some areas that you can go off to that are more lively of a night and stuff like that, but I wasn't really into it. That wasn't really what I was there for. I would suggest staying more than what I did the 3 days. We went to a brewery. They took me to a brewery, and it was so lovely. That brewery is, so when you walk in, it shows you exactly what it was like back in the day, and they've kind of kept it as it was in some areas. And then there's a beautiful bar upstairs and a restaurant, which was very nice. That's if you drink beer. I don't drink beer, but I still really enjoyed going there. Was there a standout moment? It was the water for some reason. It just threw me. I think it's up against that beautiful architecture and that stony colour, sandstone colour buildings. It just, when it was warm, walking around, it just felt so lovely. And I think for me, just going around the island and seeing how beautiful those little ports and those little areas are, I really, it's really blown me away. That water has just really blown me away. Every trip has a surprise. What was something unexpected discovered about the place? It was the water. I don't know why. It's that jade green water that it's so pretty, and it makes you feel happy. Sun makes me feel happy. Beach makes me feel happy. So that was a really lovely surprise. I thought Malta was just going to be all about history, and there was a lot of history. Doing a walking tour around Valletta, I would highly recommend, just to get to know the history of the place, because for such a small little country, it has so much history. And one thing I was really surprised, actually one thing that did surprise me, was that everyone speaks English. So apparently at the school level, private schools only teach in English, and the local public schools they teach in Maltese. So unfortunately for the Maltese language, there's not as many people even speaking it or even understanding it anymore, which is very sad. But one thing I did find out was that it's the cheapest place in Europe to learn English. So there's a lot of international students learning English at the university there, which I don't know why I thought that was very interesting and intriguing. I know that a lot of people said, you have to try the rabbit. They got rabbit stew. That seems to be on every menu. But you know what? I don't even know if I'm saying it properly, but they were so delicious, especially from a place called Paul's. There's a lot of them around, but there was one in particular that was so lovely. You can get a pea one as well, but I just got the cheese. Amazing. Honestly, I could have eaten that all day. That was delicious. They also had like their own ravioli dish, which I would highly recommend. The raviolis are quite big. They're not like little ones that, you tend to get in Italy, littler ones. These were actually quite big and meaty. So that I would recommend. They're probably the two things that I enjoyed the most and that are a little more traditional than other stuff. I didn't try any drinks. I just had a couple of glasses of wine, really, so I don't really know what the drink would be. Did I have any cultural experiences or interactions with locals? Yeah, my friends were living there, so we went out to the brew house, I think it was called, the brewery, and she invited a whole lot of friends, so that was a lot of fun. And like I said before, it's a brewery that you can have dinner and drinks up on the rooftop, which is very cool. It was one thing you wish you had known before you're going. I wish I knew how pretty it was, because I would have gone longer. I would have stayed longer. I think that for me, Malta I've only just scratched the surface of what you can experience there. I was surprised at how many churches were there and how religious the locals are, which was quite kind of nice. I was also really surprised at how pretty the architecture was. Like those red, you either got the balconies are either like red or green or blue, and they're just, it was very, very pretty. So that was something that I was very surprised about, and I wish I'd known. I think next time I will probably drive my car over if I catch a ferry, otherwise I'll fly. And I would stay at a couple of different places, not just in Valletta. And if you could give one tip, go and stay longer than 3 days, because I wish I wanted to go over to the islands. I wanted to go swimming. There was so much more I would like to do. And I've been told that in winter it's just as pretty. So I don't know, for me, maybe I might go back in winter, but for me, I think I might go when it's warmer so that I can go to the islands and go for a swim and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much me, and that's pretty much Malta, and that's all I've really going to talk about today. Just a little scratch the surface of what Malta is like, and maybe watch this space, because maybe I'll go back again sometime soon. But I think for me, Malta has really surprised me and has made me realize that it's one of those destinations that I think I'll go back to. I really do. And I don't ever want to go back to anywhere twice, but I think I will with this one, because there's still so much I haven't seen. The archaeological site that I haven't even, the UNESCO site that I didn't even touch, that I didn't even go near, that I'd love to do. So there is a lot to do and a lot to see. And so, yeah, watch this space. But until then, that's it. Bye. So join us again next week on Truly Expat Travel Podcast, where I have another exciting destination in a world that's too big to be left unexplored. Ciao for now.